this got started. So it is 2017, and I've been divorced for 2 years, and life is a struggle. I'm not doing well. Frustrated. I'm randomly having bursts of rage.
How old were you?
Yes. Let's see. 45?
Okay.
I'll do math. Hold on.
I did it. I just put math on the spot for you.
45. I'm 45. I'm 45. Professionally, I'm modestly successful. Like looking at the skills, the talents, the abilities I have, and looking at the success level I'm at, in my mind, they don't line up. I should be far more successful than I am at the time. And personally, life's not going well at all. Like, no, all of my relationships are difficult, and they're all difficult. I didn't know at the time. They were difficult because I was difficult. And just everything in my life was a struggle. Frustrated, angry, stressed, and not doing well at life. And I was looking for answers. And I looked online at, hey, here's the things to do if you're stressed. And those things did absolutely nothing for me. There was no relief. There was no difference. Nothing changed in my
Like
life.
working out, or
Go to
eating
the park,
right, or
hey, take a warm bath, try meditation. At some point I had a list of 50 different things that I had tried to, like, hey, what can we do to help Jake be better at being Jake?
Okay.
And none of it really had any effect. I have zero history of drug use.
Okay.
I drink bourbon and I smoke cigars, and that's my entire repertoire.
Okay. So up until 45, there's no marijuana use, no. Okay.
I've still never smoked marijuana.
Okay. All right.
So I've not done anything. I had gone to a peyote ceremony.
Okay.
And nothing happened. It just made me sick and didn't really experience anything. I like to joke. Mark Twain says that golf is a beautiful walk destroyed by a little ball. And I like to joke that peyote was a beautiful camping experience destroyed by the peyote. Yeah, I was like, hey, this was a nice night under the stars out in the wilderness. But other than that, this sucked. I'm not saying peyote doesn't work. It just did not do anything for me.
Okay.
And then my best friend Chaos used to work in private security, and
Hold on, you have a best friend named Chaos?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, that is.
Continue.
Chaos is a real person. It's
Okay,
not my imaginary friend, Mr. Snuffleupagus Chaos. He's a real person. I'm sure he'll show up here on the show at some point.
Awesome.
And yeah, he brings professional wrestler energy to everything. Yeah. Like, it's a real thing. He was doing private security for one of the biggest names in the NBA ever. He was in Cabo San Lucas on a job and met a guy there. The guy started asking him personal questions in a way that, like, hey, you shouldn't know this about me. Why are you asking me these questions? And he said, don't worry about that. Just answer my questions. Pipe down and answer what I asked. So they go through their conversation. And he goes, who are you? What's going on here? And he's like, I'm a shaman. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what that is. And he's like, yeah, okay. We're going to have a ceremony here in a month, and it's for warriors, and you're coming back. And he's like, yeah, I'm down here in a private jet. I don't have a private jet next month. I'm not coming back. He's like, okay, here's my card. And when Chaos comes home, pick him up from the airport, ask him about the trip, all the details. And he tells me about this weird interaction with the shaman. And I slap the dash of my car and I go, that's it. And he's like, that's it? I go, that's it. That's the thing. We're doing that. And he's like, we're doing that. And I was like, we are. Like, saddle up, let's go. He's like, let me go home and look at my bank account. I'm like, no, we're going. And he's like, oh, okay, we're going. So a month later, me and him load up in a Honda Odyssey and drive down to Cabo San Lucas. I don't know why we thought that was a necessary part of the journey, but we're like, we're driving. In hindsight, we definitely should have flown.
Okay. Instead of taking the minivan or what?
Yeah, we had the means.
Okay.
I don't know why we cheaped out on that,
Okay.
but this will be a fun adventure. We'll drive to Cabo.
Road trip with a buddy. Yeah.
Unfortunately, one little detail about the drive, definitely do not drive to Cabo San Lucas. It's far.
Yeah.
It's the Baja 1000,
Yeah.
except on road.
And it's at the bottom of that, right?
Yes.
Like all the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
All the way at the bottom.
Way too far.
And there is one part of the road that when we Google mapped it, it said this road is under construction. And we were like, okay. Well, under construction in Mexico means something different than under construction in America. Like when they say a road is under construction in Mexico, what they mean is it's like a house that's under construction. It's not built yet. There's no road. So there was about 30 miles. We're just bushwhacking it through the desert.
Oh my.
And neither of us said anything, but we were each giving each other that look like, oh, no phone service, no road, just, hey, we think there's a road in that direction. Like the last time we had a working map, it's over here. We're just going to keep going that direction.
A Honda Odyssey is not an off-road vehicle.
No,
don't. Okay.
It was, we rechristened it the Ayahuasca assault vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're driving down there. And at one point while we're off-road, we both kind of look at each other. Neither of us says anything. We're just like, yeah, this may be it. This may be where they find our bodies. We don't have enough water. We have no cell phone. We are out in the boondocks, but we made it. So we get down to Cabo. And backing up a little bit, like when I said we were going, Chaos thought I knew what I was talking about. And I knew nothing. I actually had to go home and Google what ayahuasca was. I'm like, hey, what is this ayahuasca thing? And he didn't even say it right. It was like, all right.
How do you spell that?
How do you spell that? And I was like, hey, psychedelic. I got us there. So neither of us know anything. We go down there. We meet the guy. Super nice people, as they always are. And the first night we do a sweat lodge.
Okay.
In a sweat lodge, there's 4 rounds of it where they put hot rocks in, they pour hot water on the rocks, steam billows up, they sing songs. They call them the abuelas, the grandmothers, and there's 4 different phases of it that they go through that I don't remember. About 5 minutes into the first one, I have a straight up panic attack. And I've never really had fear in my life to the point where I am crowd surfing over the people to get out. I'm like, I'm out of here. This is not a manageable situation for me. And I get outside and sit there and wait for him to open the door. And the facilitator comes out and talks to me. He's like, what happened? I was like, I freaked out. He's like, yeah, I see what caused that. I was like, oh, what caused that? He was like, you were afraid. I'm like, I knew that part. And they convinced me to come back in for the second round. I was like, yeah, I'm sitting by the door this time. Like,
I sat by the door the first one.
If I got a bolt, I'm going to bolt.
Absolutely.
And they gave me a rattle to shake as part of it while I was sitting there. And I was shaking that rattle for all it was worth because that was like my lifeline. And still not a huge fan of sweat lodges, but you do feel remarkably cleansed. You do feel remarkably loose. A lot of health benefits.
The one I went to, they asked me to sing.
Yep.
And I didn't know what to sing. I didn't know they were going to ask me to sing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, Susan, your turn to sing to the mother of the East, whatever, ancestors. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I just go, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And everybody started singing it with me. And then I said, and again. And I made everybody sing it again. I had no idea what I was doing. It was hysterical. Way too hot in there, though. That miserable. Oh my gosh.
I was going to jump to Jeremiah was a bullfrog, but that is equally. Yeah. That's good. So we settle in that night. The next night we go and we're going to participate in the ayahuasca ceremony. And I didn't know about this at the time, but I guess not enough people had shown up for the ceremony, so they were going to cancel it. And I didn't know that. Chaos is over there talking to the facilitator. And he's like, we're just going to cancel it. And he's like, no, my man's got a lot riding on this. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's got a lot vested in this. We need to figure this out. And he goes, I'm certainly not going to tell him. If you're going to tell him, you go tell him I'm going to be behind that berm over there because this is not going to be good. And he goes, is it just, do you physically need more people or is this just a money thing? And he's like, there's not enough people for a money thing. Hey man, I got American dollars. Like, we can make this happen.
Okay.
So Chaos pays him. I don't know any of this. I'm just like, We're on a little beach in Cabo San Lucas, a beautiful setting. So then the ayahuasca ceremony begins. And we take a drink of ayahuasca, and up until this point, like, we don't have any guidance. We don't have facilitators. Nobody's told us anything. I knew that I needed some intentions that I went in, and I knew that we needed to diet. So when I showed up, I fasted for 4 days because I didn't know what the diet was. So I just figured if I didn't eat anything, I'd be
Okay.
good. And then for the intentions, I had 3 intentions, and the first one was, what is the greatest good that I can do for the world that will provide the greatest good for me? I thought that was a pretty spiffy one. I forget what the second one was, honestly.
Something about anger or your career? Or...
I felt the first one was about that, and I'm sure it was something about love, light, forgiveness, all that stuff.
Okay.
And then the third one, which is an intention that I recommend nobody else set. Do not hear this intention and go, hey, that sounds really good. I should do that too. I'm going to borrow that. Don't. And the intention was, I want to be a divine man.
Okay. Now, had you had religious upbringing or background?
I was raised LDS.
Okay.
So I was part of the Mormon church growing up, and was like, I was a true believer growing up.
Okay.
And really stuck with it until I got older and looked around and went, hey, this doesn't, what you're telling me and what you're doing don't line up. This is not for me. And I left the church, and after I left the church, I became agnostic. I was like, I don't believe in God. He might exist. He might not exist. And there's no way that you can convince me or that I can convince you. So I'm not going to be an atheist, because those people are certainly intolerable. And like some of you holy rollers, a little intolerable as well. I had a religious upbringing. I knew the scriptures well. I still quote them at length. Yeah. Like, I knew them. And so, yeah, it is funny now that you mentioned that I asked to be a divine man, even though I didn't believe in the divine. Yeah.
That's, I can't wait. Keep telling me.
And when I say, don't pick that as an intention, it's a tough path. About 3 years after that, I was like, hey, God, can we renegotiate? I think what I meant was I just wanted to be rich. And he said,
Nice.
No. Yeah, no takebacks. So we drink this ayahuasca, and you literally, it's a shot glass. And then took a shot. It's a brew from Peru, where they mix a vine and a leaf together, and it becomes a psychedelic substance. There's DMT, which you have in your body all the time. DMT is what allows you to have dreams. That's why one part of your brain can tell another part of your brain a story that surprises you. So there's DMT in it, which is a psychedelic, but most of the time, if you take DMT orally, it processes so quickly that there is no experience. Your body just instantaneously processes it, and you don't experience anything. But the vine is an MAOI inhibitor, which allows you to bring it in orally, and then you have the experience of ayahuasca. It makes the DMT more durable in your body. So we take the shot, we go lay down, and I go to sleep for an hour.
You fall asleep on it?
Yeah, I just fell asleep.
Okay.
It takes about 30 minutes.
And you're on the beach?
Yeah, we're out on the beach. We're
just like on a blanket or some sort of...
Yeah, we're in a little palapa that's on the edge of the beach. We're probably 25 yards from the ocean. It's a beautiful scenic setting.
Was there anybody else there?
Me, Chaos, and 4 or 5 other Mexicans are there. So again, we're the only 2 English.
A shaman. You said the shaman was still... Okay.
He's the one that's giving it to us. He doesn't really speak English either. So like, we are really just... We're just
brave.
Yeah, we're going for it. I wake up, and one of the girls is screaming like she's being murdered. She is just really going through it. Chaos seems to be rolling around, and I'm just sitting there. And the shaman comes over to me. He's like, hey, you're not feeling anything? Nope. Gives me another shot. Try to puke, go out and look at the stars, go wander around. And then finally I decide, okay, nothing's going to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay down and go to sleep. And there's this toad substance that they're going to give us the next morning. Maybe that'll work. So I've already done the peyote once. Nothing happened. I'm like, all right, great. Now I've done ayahuasca and nothing's happened. So I'll lay down and roll over and go to sleep. So I lay down, roll over, try to go to sleep. And as soon as I try to go to sleep, it happens. It kicks in.
Okay.
I'm now full blown having an experience. And what happens is my face starts having seizures. There's one little muscle in my face that'll start spasming.
Mhm.
And in my mind, I can see that muscle lighting up in my face. And then I see a nerve running back to my brain, and it's connecting it to emotions. Hey, this emotion is connected to this part of your face. And it's doing it randomly all over my face for quite some time, just rewiring my whole face.
Okay.
And every time I think it's over, it's not. And then when it does finally end, the thought I had was like, great, we've just ruined years of poker face practice that I'm now going to be all emotional in my face. And then there are all these weird positions that I used to lay in when I would sleep. And I would start laying in the weird, odd positions. And it was almost like a puzzle piece in that as soon as my body would hit the right position, it was like I would be transported into another life, and I would see another life that I'd had. And basically, I'd see myself dying. And I would just all watch myself die again and again. And I was Roman, I was Chinese, I was Polynesian, just all over the world dying. And it was all these different battles and all these different conflicts. And I was like, all of these are like no-name skirmishes that I don't even have one line in any history book everywhere. Oh, you participated in this awesome battle of the bulges. Nope. Just these no account skirmishes. And as I came to the end of that, stood up and just puked. No warning, no anything, and puked for 20 minutes. And for as hard as I worked at that puking, my eyes were closed the whole time I was puking. When I opened my eyes, there was about a quarter cup of material. And I was like, that was a lot of work for not much output.
You'd fasted too.
I had fasted, but as much as I had puked, I was like, man, there's got to be like buckets and buckets of nothing. And then I saw a scene on a gold-plated cruise ship where it was this cruise ship where you could have anything you wanted at any time. All you had to do was ask, and you could have anything you wanted. And I'm swinging around in the galley, stealing food like I'm some sort of pirate. And there's this old black woman sitting at a table with her glasses down at the end of her nose going, Security, Security. He's doing it again.
Oh my gosh.
Security. So security comes and gets me. Takes me to the bridge, and the captain's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm taking over. And he's like, if you want your own boat, all you have to do is ask. We'll give you your own boat. And I was like, no, I'm taking over. And he's like, how about we just give you your own boat? Like, calm down. All you have to do is ask for what you want, and you can have it. And I was like, oh, is that how this works? He's like, yeah, quit trying to steal everything that's yours. I was like, oh, probably a larger lesson here that I would like to not hear. After that, I have the inspiration to go out to we're on a little plop. I'm going to go out to the beach, and I'm told to dig a hole. So I start digging this hole, and I think I'm being told to dig this hole because I think I'm going to puke again. I'm like, all right, I'm going to build this
little puke bucket.
Yeah, I'm going to dig this little puke bucket into the sand here and fill it up. And as I'm sitting there in front of it, the voice of the divine comes to me and says, throw yourself in the hole. And I was like, nah, I'm from a long line of furry people. That doesn't sound good. That's a terrible idea. It's like, throw yourself in the hole. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to throw myself in the hole. And then we go back and forth about whether I'm going to throw myself in the hole or not. This probably goes on for 5 or 10 minutes. And then after finally, I'm like, all right, fine. I'll throw myself into the hole. And I was like, don't bother. I was like, fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I didn't want to get all sandy and be combing this out of my back hair for 3 weeks anyway. So I go back in, lay down on my mat, and now it's me and God who are having a conversation. And it's like I'm sitting in a room about as far away as I am from you, talking to God. And God to me is a white guy in a white suit with a white beard and white hair.
Yeah.
Looks like the architect from The Matrix. And except a little friendlier. And we're talking. And I go, okay, what now? And he's like, what do you mean, what now? I'm like, what am I going to do now? He goes, you couldn't throw yourself into a sand pit. What are you going to do when I give you a real job to do? I was like, played. You got me on that one. Like, all right, the next thing you tell me to do, I'll do it. And he goes, okay, good. Go home and quit. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, go home and quit. Mind you, I'm a partner in the company. I'm an owner. I have 2 other partners. And I'm like, why? No. So I should go home and look for a job, find something else, and then talk to them and quit? And he's like, no, go home and quit. I'm having all these fantasies of, oh yeah, I'm going to go home, quit my job because I took this psychedelic, and I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to lose my truck, I'm going to lose my kids. I'm going to be a homeless bum because I did some drugs in Mexico. This is a terrible idea. And I'm crying, I'm weeping, I'm wailing, I don't want to quit. He's telling me to quit. And we go back and forth on it, and I try to negotiate it with him like they do in the Old Testament. I'm like, all right, so what if, how about I put out some resumes and then I give them some time to quit and we go through different details. We finally negotiate, air quotes, that I will give them 3 weeks notice because I'm like, hey, I have responsibilities. I can't just walk in and go, hey, I quit. That's irresponsible. But I won't look for a job. And he's like, okay. So no looking for a job. I'll go home and quit in 3 weeks. I wipe away some of my tears. I feel like hey, we've made progress here. And he walks me through some of the other things in my life. You need to forgive your mother. And I was like, okay, what's that look like? You just need to forgive your mom. And I'm like, there's some mechanics here that I'm not sure how that works. Could you help me? It's just forgive her. I really have no idea even how to start that process. Do I go home and write her a letter? Do I just do this myself? Do I just tell you I forgive her? What's
right?
Mazel tov, don't bother me anymore, I forgive you. And all he ever keeps saying is just forgive her. Yeah, no details. I'm like, this is really not helpful. One point I saw that my hands were a lot larger than I looked them. It was like, hey, you're a lot more capable than you figure are. And then I just saw a lot of visions of my future, of how my life could be going forward. And then probably one of the funnier parts of it is all of the memories that you have where you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was that socially awkward. I can't believe I called that girl up in the 7th grade and played Kiss's Lick It Up song over the phone to her. What kind of social moron are you? All those things that wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning for being weird. God's sitting there with his arm around me and we're on a sofa while just watching all these, laughing our butt off. And that was the end of my being self-conscious.
Okay.
Like it was the end of self-consciousness. And then you've experienced this where I looked over at Chaos and he was on his side, curled up. Yeah. And what I saw was we were Roman soldiers, and that's how we were taught to sleep.
Okay.
That we were taught to sleep on our sides. We would hold our pack and our shield, and then we would curl up and lay that way. And if someone came up and grabbed your shoulder and shook you, that means things were going down, and you would be startled and come right out of bed. And if someone came up and shook your foot, hey, it's your turn for watch.
Okay.
And it's one of those things when I meet friends that I go, oh, you're one of us. And I go, so you sleep on your side holding a pillow? And they're like, yeah, I know why you do that. And some friends are not.
Warrior ready for battle.
Yes. They're like, I don't like to tell this about me.
That's funny. That's funny.
And all throughout the night, I don't know if you've had this experience, when there's someone else in the room, you can feel their presence, you feel where other people are. And throughout the night, the shaman would just disappear. Like I could feel where everybody else was, and then he would just like, bink, and I'd open my eyes and he'd be standing right there. I'm like, I'm standing right here and I don't know where you're at.
That's weird.
Yeah. So couldn't detect his presence for long periods of time. That was pretty cool. And then towards the end of the night, the purging really started. I would get up, go to the bathroom, and the first time I went to the bathroom there, it was just a life-changing poop. Just felt like everything from my Adam's apple down fell out of my body. That was really something. Had some wet wipes with me, fortunately. I came prepared for that
Nice.
part. Got cleaned up, went back and laid down on my mat, was there for about 5 minutes, and then had to get up and go to the restroom again. Took another life-changing poop. I was like, this is an inordinate amount already with 2. Went back to my mat, laid down for 5 minutes, got up, repeat the process. Repeated that about 5 or 6 more times, and then just thought, I'm just going to take my clothes off and stay in this bathroom. I don't know why I have to clean up and go lay down on my mat for 5 minutes. Let's just do it here. So I sat in there for about 15 minutes and nothing else happened. I was like, all right. So I clean up, go back down, lay down on my mat, and have to get up in 5 minutes and go back to the bathroom. Like, this is wildly uncalled for. And then the sun came up, and it was the most present I've probably ever felt in my life. Like, I felt clear, I felt clean, I felt good. And then we had a group share, and then shortly after that, we were going to do 5-MeO DMT, which is the venom from a toad that lives here in the Sonoran Desert. And it's the most powerful psychedelic known to man. Now, in 2017, there is almost no information on 5-MeO DMT on the internet. I think there were 2 YouTube videos and almost nothing else.
Were you said the sun came up. Were you finished with the ayahuasca then?
Yeah, that was the finish of the ayahuasca. Was
Okay.
like, hey, sun's up, we're done.
Okay.
Then we had a short group share. When I say short, nobody understood me or Chaos, and we didn't understand any of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
So it was like, hey, you want to talk? I'm like, talking to Chaos, but sure. So we have our share. And one of the girls there did communicate to Chaos that she saw him as a majestic eagle during the ceremony, which Chaos was.
Is he a big guy?
He's a good sized fellow.
Okay.
Chaos was completely eating that up. And I was like, yeah, we'll get used to it, buddy. That's the only time that's going to happen. Smash cut to me being wrong. We do refer to him occasionally as the majestic eagle. I say it mockingly, and everybody else, I think, is serious about it, which makes me angry.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yes. Oh, you'll love him.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the 5-MeO DMT. You smoke it. It's inhaled. It's vaporized. So they serve it to you in a crack pipe, which I had never seen a crack pipe before. And the way that they do it is they pinch your nose and your mouth after you inhale and count to 20 because they want you to hold it for 20 seconds. And after I'd inhaled it and they hold me at 7, I'm starting to shake. At 15, I'm starting to panic. And at 17, I lose the universe. And I fall down into the void. And what felt like an eternity, I felt like I was in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus Christ when he was bleeding from every pore and paying for everybody's sins.
Wow.
And it was the deepest, darkest, no matter how deep and dark you can imagine, it was way worse than that. And after that, I had compassion for the apostles because they kept abandoning him, and he came out and like basically scolded them like, you keep abandoning me. And it's like, I kind of get it. Realistically, I was probably there for about 3 seconds helping hold space with Christ.
Interesting.
But it felt like forever. Like it just felt, that 3 seconds felt like an eternity, if that's how long it was. And probably the singular most painful experience I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And then after that, full body convulsions, screaming, rolling, tearing up the beach. Like I was really tearing up some sand. And then was shown some things. And then just popped through to complete and total bliss. Just complete ecstasy. Started digging, kept my shorts on, took my shirt off, was digging holes in the sand, diving into the holes and then burying myself and then popping out of the sand like a little gopher and going, rah, people, and then burying myself back in the sand again. And just couldn't have been any happier to wallow around in all that sand. Everybody was having a good laugh. I think the shaman served 2 more people before he came over and rang the bell to bring me back. Hey, you got to get back to reality here, buddy. And then we came back to reality. And I was washing sand out of my hair and out of my ear. I think about 2 weeks later, I was still getting little sand grits out of my
Nice.
hair, out of my scalp. I was like, wow, I probably should have jumped in the hole the first time. It probably wouldn't have been this
Right.
bad.
Security.
So Chaos and I were, after it's over, Chaos has my experience was very difficult. It ended well, but for the majority of the experience, I was really felt like I was getting worked over. And as we're driving home, I said, hey, man, hypothetical question. And he's like, hypothetical question. I'm like, hypothetical. If we were the walking wounded emotionally before this ceremony, he's like, just hypothetically. I'm like, just hypothetically. I go, are we whole now? And he starts laughing and smacking the steering wheel. And I was like, I thought that was a good question, but apparently we're not whole. He's like, the next time we go back. And I was like, the next time we go back? No, sir, that is not going to happen for me. That was a one and done. I am never doing that again. That was terrible. And he was like, no, that's awesome. And we're going again. I was like, no, I'm not. That's the end of that. Which he was right and I was wrong, but we'll cover that next time. And then we drove home and I quit.
You did quit your job?
You
told your partners, like, I'm giving
you
a
took me about
notice
3 days to get a meeting with him.
Okay.
We were all busy. And after 3 days, I was like, hey, I'll give you 3 weeks and then I'm going to quit. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, curious about that myself.
Okay.
And I didn't tell both partners, but I did tell the one partner the entire story. And she was like, so God told you to quit, huh? I was like, yeah. Did he have ID? I was like, nah. As it turns out, God doesn't need a swipe patch to get into heaven. And they said, that's all well and good. You can go ahead and quit. We'll wrap this up. We're going on vacation in 3 weeks. So could you extend that another 3 weeks so that we can go on our vacation, come back, get everything transitioned? And I was like, yeah, an extra 2 paychecks. That sounds
Okay.
That sounds awesome. That's
More
that's
security there.
super reasonable. Let's
Yeah.
let's do that. So that was the very first steps into this journey.